request everyone to either switch off their mobile phones or put them on silent mode. Thank you. I invite all the dignitaries on the stage. Yes.
Recording in progress.
A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Thank you for joining us for the Commencement Lecture 2023 of JSES. My name is Neelu Anand Jha and I am an assistant professor at Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. On behalf of JSES family, I welcome our newly admitted students who have joined BA and BSc Honors Environment and Sustainable Development courses. Heartiest congratulations to you. It is my pleasure to also extend a very warm welcome to our second and third year students to the new academic session. We look forward to this new promising academic year. The Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability is India's first environment and sustainability school for undergraduates. JSES fosters curriculum, research, and collaborations of highest standards. The school provides an interdisciplinary environment and sustainable development education through innovative teaching, impact-driven research, and practice-based engagement. The aim is to allow students to widen their horizons and develop the skills required for solving the complex environment and sustainability challenges of our times. We have with us today Professor C. Rajkumar, Founding Vice Chancellor, Gopi Jindal Global University with us. Thank you, sir. Professor Rajkumar, a Rhodes Scholar, is the founding Vice Chancellor of the Global University. He was appointed as the VC at the age of 34 in 2009 when the university was established. Professor Kumar is an accomplished legal scholar and works in the field of human rights and development, comparative constitutional law, terrorism and national security, corruption and governance, law and disaster management, legal education, and higher education. He has 7 books and over 150 publications to his credit and published widely in peer-reviewed journals. It is my distinct pleasure to invite Professor Rajkumar to give the welcome address. Sir.
Thank you very much. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, my sincere apologies to our...
Just a small technical glitch, sir. The volume is a little low. We are just working on it.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'm so sorry that I'm not able to be present physically on campus to welcome all our students who have joined the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. On behalf of Dean Maharaj Pandit as well as myself, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. The students of the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability, I believe, are going to be the conscience keepers of our society. Issues surrounding environment and climate change are at the heart of institutional governance, but also the big challenges that we as a human society are facing. And hence, it is absolutely important for us to provide leadership and young leaders who are present here, who have the ability to pursue an academic program such as the BSc in Sustainable Development or BA in Environmental Studies. You have a transformative opportunity to make a significant contribution to these areas. At a more personal level, I want to say that We are so delighted that you have joined us. You will be part of a larger community of people who pursue various disciplines. While you are among the youngest schools of JGU, you will have a very powerful voice because of the kind of commitment and dedication that you've already shown to pursue a study area that I believe is going to be making a huge difference to our lives and indeed our future. I also want to mention that as you enter the portals of this institution, be conscious of the fact that we are a very diversified institution. We have students from 60 countries in the world, and our faculty come from over 50 countries in the world, and both students and faculty come from all states and union territories of India. We are a microcosm of the world and India. That also means that you have an opportunity to engage with ideas that can shape the future. I also want to mention that you are already pursuing a degree program which is truly interdisciplinary. If one is serious about studying about the environment, you ought to study history, political science, sociology, anthropology, law, and of course, environmental sciences itself. All those things come together and many more to have a sense of what environmental studies is actually, and that's why and sustainability is actually. So you are already in a unique situation being located at the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. I also want to mention that you have a fantastic dean who is an outstanding leader and a researcher. You will be meeting him in the next several months as he's on a important visiting professorship, but he will be coming soon. But essentially, his own work, but also the research work of all the faculty members will resonate with each one of you. Our university and indeed all our schools at JGU, we pride in the fact that we are very accessible to our students. Our students engage with us in a more dynamic and deep and pervasive manner. All these things have positively impacted our own journey in the last 15 years. We started off with a very modest manner with just one school and 10 faculty members and literally 100 students. And today we have grown into a multidisciplinary university with one of our newest schools, the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. Lastly, I want to say that these formative years of your education at a university will lay the foundation for your future. So make the best use of it. Take your classes and courses seriously, but also as you grow up in the evolution of your journey, you may want to take courses in the other schools in the form of cross-disciplinary electives. Make the best use of the fantastic sports facilities and other opportunities to pursue extracurricular activities. Your seniors will tell you more, but basically think about it like a campus community. As I close, I want to extend a warm welcome to Professor Meva Singh, the lifelong distinguished professor at the Department of Psychology and Institute of Excellence at the University of Mysore. His own life and contribution as a scholar, as a practitioner, as somebody who has been able to bring Indian research into the world and to bring the world's research into India. He has many accolades for himself, but he's also, most importantly, a recipient of DST Ramana Fellowship, J.C. Bose National Fellowship, and the SERB Distinguished Fellowship. There are many more things about him, which I'm sure he'll be formally introduced, but I was very delighted that he accepted our invitation to come to our campus and to deliver the commencement lecture. I also want to extend a warm welcome and appreciate my colleagues, Dr. Abhirup Chowdhury and Dr. Neelu Anand Jha, and other faculty members who are present here. Of course, thank you to my registrar, Professor Sridhar Patnaik, for his presence. With those words, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you, and also to let you know that my sincere apologies that I'll be leaving shortly for an important meeting, because of which I'm not able to be present on campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, for your encouraging Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, for your encouraging and inspiring words and guidance to our students on their newly undertaken path, which is going to shape their careers and their becoming future. Today, we have the honor of hosting Professor Meva Singh, our esteemed speaker for the commencement lecture. I invite Professor Dr. Abhirup Chaudhary, my esteemed JSES, to introduce our distinguished speaker.
Thank you, Professor Neelu Anand Jha, Assistant Dean, Office of Student Affairs, JSES, for inviting me. I am pleased to introduce our eminent speaker, Professor Meva Singh. His name resonates with the progress of ethology, behavioral ecology, and conservation biology in India. I recollect my undergrad days when I, like many others, have drawn inspiration from his path-breaking research, which has motivated many to pursue their career paths in the field of behavioral ecology and conservation. Professor Meva Singh obtained master's degree at Punjab University, Chandigarh, PhD at University of Mysore, and training in wildlife management at Smithsonian Institute, Washington, D.C. He has been a Fulbright Scholar in Residence at Banksville University, Pennsylvania, a teaching assistant at the Smithsonian Institute, Washington, D.C., a visiting fellow at the Zoological Society of San Diego, USA, visiting fellow at the German Primate Center, Göttingen, and Collins Zoo in Germany. Summer professor in Germany, visiting lecturer in Malaysia, and a visiting professor at the Russian Academy of Science, Moscow. His research on ecology and behavior of wild mammals, especially of non-human primates, is field-based. He has worked in the forest of Himalayas, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, and Nicobar Islands. He has published more than 200 research papers in life sciences in prestigious journals in India and outside, and his co-edited book titled Macaque Societies, a model for the study of social organization, is published by Cambridge, England. He has published research on many species of animals, including lorises, macaques, langurs, apes, elephants, small carnivores, wolves, sloth bear, rodents, bats, dogs, lizards, etc. His research ideas include animal behavior, ecology, evolution, and conservation. He is an elected fellow of Indian Academy of Science, the National Academy of Sciences, Indian National Science Academy, and National Academy of Psychology. He is also a recipient of DST Ramana Fellowship, JC Bose National Fellowship, and ACRB Distinguished Fellowship. In his honor, a species of a frog has been named as Nyctibrachus meosinghi, and an ant species as Lordromira meosinghi. He has recently been honored with international recognition, including Fellowship of the Association of Tropical Biology and Conservation and Lifetime Achievement Award of the International Primatological Society. I now request Professor Siddharth Davidu Patnaik, Honorable Registrar, to speak few words and facilitate Professor Meva Singh.
Thank you so much, and it's indeed a great pleasure and delight to welcome a distinguished person like Professor Meva Singh, and of course, all our newly admitted students to the Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. I also bring greetings from the Vice Chancellor, who could not be here in person today, and you just heard him. He outlined the vision of the program and even what you ought to do as students of the school and the university. I also take this opportunity to congratulate the leadership of the School of Environment and Sustainability and all the students for having graduated their first batch of students from the School of Environment and Sustainability. So you have something to look forward to in terms of what you can do and what you are supposed to do, because there cannot be a better time than now to pursue studies in the field of environment and sustainability with all the challenges that humanity has been facing in terms of whether climate change, melting of glaciers, and even issues pertaining to conservation of nature. And there's so many aspects, and you can study these issues from diverse perspectives. And that is one of the distinct advantages that you have while you're at the School of Environment and Sustainability. And there is no better individual than even Professor Meva Singh to testify to this fact, because his life and his contributions to the field, they are not necessarily in the field in which he was originally trained. But nonetheless, given his background in philosophy, literature, and other areas, contributed to Professor Meva Singh being more empathetic and even more passionate in understanding the society and the larger social aspects around him. That even includes issues pertaining to environment and how we need to safeguard and protect our environment for the sake of future and even for the sake of humanity. And this is what you can expect even here at the OP Jindal Global University when you embark upon your higher education in the field in which you have chosen to study. Because as the Vice Chancellor rightly remarked, you will have an opportunity not only to study these issues from your particular disciplinary perspectives, but even you can draw from other disciplines and other schools as well, be it law, public policy, international affairs, and art and architecture, most importantly, to enlist a few. But however, since most of you have transitioned independent for the first time in your lives over here, while you have a very enriching ecosystem at the university, but it's very, very important that you also assume certain personal responsibilities to become, responsible members of the university community. This is a university as much as it thrives on some of the important principles of interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and internationalization. We also celebrate the heterogeneity and the pluralism that we have around us. So, like the way you would like to be respected or treated with dignity, we appeal to each one of you to even respect and treat every person around you with a sense of dignity and respect. And they also appeal to each one of you to abide by the university regulations at all times, and even the code of conduct of the university, so that that only ensures that you have a more peaceful, joyful, and harmonious time over here as you pursue your undergraduation and even as you plan for your future. And in case of any academic or even non-academic difficulties that you face or you might have at any point of time, I wish you shall not, but nonetheless, it is but natural as humans to face challenges and even to surmount those challenges. You can always approach your respective faculty members, your deans, the administrative staff members of the school, and even the related non-academic offices of the university that provide the much needed pastoral support, be it like the Office of Student Affairs, the Center for Wellness and Counseling Services, so on and so forth. And we do have a thriving environment over here with so many clubs, societies, and other co-curricular ecosystem. So you should also become part of those activities so that your education becomes more meaningful. And by the time you graduate, you will also acquire some very important attributes. And these are also the times, my dear friends, when we are talking about the sustainable development goals, so on and so forth. So your education becomes very meaningful, but at the same time, you should also translate some of the ideas and the vision into action So you should take care of your immediate environment around you and contribute to a certain, establishment of these goals and practices of these goals around you and around us. And we shall traverse this journey together. On this particular note, I welcome each one of you to the university, and I wish you the very best as you proceed further with your academic session. And I also thank the Dean, the Vice Dean, the faculty members, and the administrative staff members for having set up this excellent lecture. I'm sure it's going to be excellent given the life and experiences of Professor Meva Singh. I vividly recall last year we had a speaker from the Indian Institute of Science who spoke about elephants. And this year we are going to talk about primates and their behaviors, and we will always have something to learn from these species as well. So therefore, I wish you all the very best once again, and welcome to the university. I also take this opportunity to sincerely thank our distinguished speaker for not only having accepted our invite, but also to travel all the way from Mysore to Sonipat during a busy work week. Thank you so much, Professor Meva Singh, for accepting our invite and for being with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Patnaik, for your kind words and continued support and guidance. Without further ado, I would now request Professor Meva Singh to begin his lecture on the topic Behavior and Conservation, My Journey of Half a Century with Monkeys in Forests and Cities.
Possible to improve your motion of this successful flow to change to the Dr. Meva Singh. You were supposed to read the names of all people, right? Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today. And I wish my friend Professor Pandit was here. Professor Maharaj Pandit, probably you new people don't know him. He was at Delhi University, and I have known him for a long time. We have been very close friends, very old friends, you can see. He actually called me some 3-4 days back, and I was somewhere in the forest of Western Ghats in Anamalai Tiger Reserve. So he told me, can you come? I said, look, I'm there with my students. He said, you please make it. So I had to go all the way to Mysore 3 days back and then start from there today, from Tamil Nadu to Karnataka to Delhi to Sonipat. So what I want to talk to you about is some of the recent things we have been doing. I am a wildlife biologist. I have been working now since July 1973. It's exactly 50 years. I entered the forest, Shivalik Hills, near Dehradun. So that's why I call it half a century, a journey of half a century with the monkeys and elephants and carnivores and so on. I may not look like 71, 72 years old, but many of my friends have been telling, the way you are growing older, your hairs are becoming blacker and blacker all the time. So I want you people to relax, okay? Now, what I would be talking about to you is basically two things. One is some examples or something about animal behavior. How do we study animal behavior? What do we study in animal behavior? And then the second part, I would talk about conservation of management of endangered species, or even sometimes the not so-called endangered species. The whole idea is to sensitize you towards environment, towards our wildlife, towards our ecology, towards our, basically conservation problems which we face in the country. That is the whole idea. And second thing I also want to tell you is that when you think of high standard research, and I want to call my research as a very high standard research, we people think that you need billions of dollars and you need big labs, and especially if you are doing experimental work, you need huge laboratories, and then only you can do a lot of research. And I would tell you and I will show you what kind of materials we have used to do that research. The students may not know, but the colleagues would know, and the kind of journals in which we have published, highly prestigious journals, by spending sometimes 35 rupees, sometimes 50 rupees, and not those crores of rupees. So I have kept this topic as behavior and conservation to talk both about animal behavior and about wildlife conservation. So if you look at the species of wild animals, some of the animals even today are obligatory forest dwellers. Tiger, for example, is a forest-dwelling animal. Tigers don't come out of the forest normally. Usually they live in the forest. So they are normally forest-dwelling. Some of the species have become totally or obligatory commensal. By commensal, I mean they share habitats with people, and sometimes they also share resources with people, house sparrows and so on, for example. These are the species which are totally commensal. But there are some species like in India, for example, we have rhesus monkeys, we have Hanuman langurs, we have even in Nicobar, we have the long-tailed macaques. Some of these species, they live in the forest, but they also live close to people. Now, this has given us ample opportunity to study behavior of these animals and evolution. Now, I want to specifically talk. I am basically a wildlife biologist. This work is a very recent work. For the only past about 8 or 9 years, we have been doing this kind of work. Otherwise, all my life has been spent in jungles. So some student of mine, they got interested in studying. We were studying urban monkeys for a different purpose, about their, about their demography, about their conservation, about the problems they create for people, and how to solve the problems of the people, because they do create a lot of problems in urban areas. So that was my basic interest. But some of my students got interested in just seeing or watching those monkeys, that they're very different from the forest monkeys in so many things. How they explore their environment, how they sleep in trees, and how they move in the morning, how they forage the day, and they are very, very different from the forest monkeys. So what we started looking at, what makes them so different from the forest monkeys? Now, one thing which we noticed to begin with, which became our focus here, is that unlike in the forest areas where the animals get the food, for example, most of the fruits don't need any kind of extraction. They don't need any kind of processing, but the food which the monkeys are exposed to, or the food which the monkeys get in the urban areas, so all of you know, you have seen monkeys everywhere. Okay, this food is most of the times embedded, is packaged. Now, this packaged food, most of the times has to be extracted. See, unlike in the forest, for example, there are very few resources which need extraction or processing. By processing, I mean the food has to be made edible. It is not directly edible. Most of the resources they use in the forest are edible, directly edible. So in urban areas, monkeys are exposed to this kind of food items which require these two things, extraction and processing. Now, this extraction and processing has led to the evolution or emergence of many different kinds of skills which the forest monkeys don't have. So what I want to show you in the next couple of slides is that we compared the forest monkeys, not directly the forest monkeys, because some of these experiments involved feeding. I mean, giving food in some experimental situation, and I do not feed monkeys in the forest. I do not feed any animal in the forest, and legally we are not supposed to do anyway. So as a proxy to the forest monkeys, we have selected some monkey groups which are far away from urban areas, but which are living in agricultural lands. They're just like forest monkeys. They have very little exposure to people. So we selected such kind of groups of monkeys. I would talk, I have worked on many species of animals, but in today's talk, I would talk about two species of monkeys. One is the Nicobar long-tailed macaques. This is a very unique subspecies of monkeys. They're found not even in Andaman Islands. They're found only in 3 islands of Nicobar. You know, Nicobar archipelago is far away towards Indonesia, these Indian islands. And this is a very, very interesting subspecies that we started about 15, 16 years ago. We started the work on this species. Now, what we have been interested in this species, because these monkeys are highly dependent on coconut. These islands have nothing else. See, the Nicobar Islands have no other crop. The only business people, agriculture there they have is coconut. And we selected this for a very interesting reason. Coconut is not an easy to extract resource. Now, if I give you people coconut, don't tell you can't use a knife, you don't use any kind of a katti or anything. Try to extract the coconut water. Can you imagine of doing it with your nails? Open the coconut, but that's what the monkeys do. And the monkeys are highly dependent. Some of them are highly dependent on coconut. So this requires a very, 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 very skillful behavior. How these monkeys would obtain food from coconut. In Nicobar, I have a sort of an experimental situation available there. See, for centuries, there are only tribes living there. It's only recently from 1960s that some people from mainland have gone to those Nicobar areas. Otherwise, those forests have only tribes. And some of those tribes, you may have read, still live in the forest. Sentinelese, for example, still do not wear clothes. They don't know how to make fire. They only carry the fire with them all the time. And they have absolutely no touch with the external people at all. And they are simply allowed to live. And to some extent, Jaruas, for example, they also live in their own world. So, but these tribes in the coastal areas, some of these tribes have been cultivating coconut for centuries together. Now, there are these monkeys there in these islands. Some of the monkey groups are used to coconuts probably for hundreds of years. So they have this dependence on coconut for a long time. Then in the 1960s, these areas were inhabited by people from the mainland who would go to any place where you tell them to go, Punjabis. Okay, so a lot of Punjabis went there. You have now Joginder Nagar, Bhavinder Nagar, and all those places there in Nicobar, near Nicobar. So a lot of, especially the retired army people, they were all, by the way, I'm a Punjabi, a Sardar, a Jat, okay, and you can understand from my pronunciation anyway. So many of these people from Punjab, Bengal, and some from Tamil Nadu, they settled there. And they can do nothing else there. They also started coconut cultivation. So some monkey groups have exposed to monkeys from 1960s, say now for about 50, 60 years. And then you must have heard about the tsunami which happened in 2004. It was a massive, massive tsunami. It destroyed so many areas of these islands. It came from Indonesia, that side, and Nicobar and Andaman Islands were badly hit. So most of the coastal areas were destroyed by tsunami, and some of the monkey groups, some other fruit, pandanus, for example, which was totally destroyed. So some more monkey groups became used to eating coconuts in 2004. And there are some monkey groups which are living in the forest, those which are not exposed to coconut at all. So now you can have typical experimental situation. You have monkeys exposed for hundreds of years, about 50, 60 years, about 15, 20 years, and monkeys not exposed at all. And to begin with, we did some kind of experiment called familiarity experiment. So here you can see it's slightly put off. It would be much better if the lights are off, at least some. This side, not that side. इधर का light बंद कर दो. हाँ, much better. See here there are two groups. There is one group which is called Shivan. I don't know whether you can see it. This is a group which lives in a town. There is a small, it's not a town, Campbell Bay in Nicobar. It's a village. And the group lives in that village and is highly dependent on coconut. There is another group called C2 close by. They live in the forest, but they occasionally visit the coconut plantations. And then there are two groups here. They live in G3 and G4. They live in the forest. So what we did just to study their familiarity with coconut. You know, when they go towards sleeping trees, we know most of the sleeping trees in their habitats. So in the evening, when they were foraging, on the way, we put some coconut and some other fruits also. Only we have 6 different phases of coconut which we study, but just to see two, one is totally ripe and one is unripe. So we kept these coconuts to see how these monkeys respond. So these monkeys, the group 3 and group 4, they picked up fig. They picked up some other fruits which are native to their forest, and they did not even look at the coconuts. They simply passed. And then this group which occasionally comes from the forest and is partially dependent on coconut, didn't bother to pick up P2. You know how difficult it would be to open it. So it just left P2 and picked up only the familiar one, the ripe one, and the urban one. You know what the monkeys do? One here and ran. So this is typical of the monkeys, urban monkeys. They picked up both of them. So just to show the sort of familiarity. So we studied several things in the food processing behavior in these monkeys. Now you start looking at the cognitive processes, how these monkeys are processing their food, how they are extracting their food. I mean, what kind of so-called intelligent behavior is involved? Now, if they have a coconut like this, for example, it is still not very easy to open. Most of the time, what they need is, if there's outer husk layers, for example, with their nails and with their canine, they tear it apart. But if they have a ripe one like this, it is very difficult to open. So how would you open this? Okay. Now you look at this once again. You look at look at these monkeys pick up this fruit from somewhere. They have to break it. Can they start hitting it if the leaves are there? Can they hit at the places where sand is there? It won't break. Now they pick up the food. This is not the way the food was given. The food is picked from a different place. Look at they have to go and search for an anvil. They have to go and search for a place which is hard enough, which is either a stone or an old dry log like this, for example. They take this fruit, go to that particular place where they break it, knowing fully well that it cannot be broken at all the places. So you start seeing the whole cognitive processes which is involved in this. Okay, the next thing which we saw was sometimes these fruits, they have a lot of mud and sometimes some thorns around the fruit. Go ahead one. Okay. So sometimes these fruits, as I said, they have a mud, there are a lot of thorns. So these monkeys have developed another technique now. Look at something which we call tool use behavior, which you people would study in their courses somewhere. You are fresh. What is the tool use? What is a tool? Tool is something which is not a part of our body. Tool is something which is an external object, and it is used by us for something for which it was not meant probably. And that's what we call it tool use. So we take objects and use them as tools. These monkeys, if they have mud or thorns on these coconuts, they use leaves, twigs. They just wrap around. Understand that this is not a simple behavior. These are very, very complex behaviors, have been published by some of the very top journals. This is not usually seen in the monkeys. And this is all by the urban monkeys. The forest monkeys never do these kinds of things. So they wrap it around, and what we call tool use. People used to write, what is the difference between animals and humans? Humans use tools. We have enough evidence in the nature today that animals make use of tools. The first thing was seen in where? In crows. In crows, that there was a water in some vessel, the crow could not reach. So crows pick up stones, pebbles, they keep on throwing there, and the water level comes up and the crow drinks water. I mean, this kind of behavior has been recorded in nature, where what we call tool use or use of external objects for something. But when they change the definition, no, humans make tools. These monkeys are just using something. No, humans are different from animals because animals may use tools, but humans make tools from something different. Now you look at another slide. Look at the whole process. The monkey is making a tool. Okay, it breaks sometimes with the teeth. Then simply processing it. It's making it fit now to bring and neatly put around the coconut. So this is what we say tool making behavior. Now please don't start comparing it with making. Can the monkeys make a watch? Okay, why should they make a watch? It's only stupid people who need to keep looking at the time all the time. The monkeys doesn't need to do it. They make the tools which they need, the tools which they require. So here is that the animals also make tools. One of the most fascinating things we saw in these monkeys was if you eat coconut and if you have cavities, if you have eaten copra, for example, it gets stuck in the cavities. Okay, so you have to remove it, otherwise, after some time, it starts sticking. Now, these monkeys are such intelligent behavior. They make use of small feathers, twigs, some thin wires. Okay, so look at this. It's very, you can see some coconut falling out. So they are flossing. They clean their teeth with so many different kinds of objects. And a couple of years ago, we published this paper. You have heard of a journal called Science. Our colleagues know a journal called Science. Science is the topmost journal in the world, where very, very high-class research is published. And once we published this in a journal called Primates in Japan, Science picked up this whole story and they wrote another article on our research, and it is published in Science. With the title, "Monkeys may have better dental hygiene than you." This was a whole story was written by Science on this paper, especially on the way these animals make use of tools. Now, the second species I want to quickly talk about is the bonnet monkeys. This is, in north we have the monkey which is called the rhesus monkey with a short tail, the monkey which you find around here. We don't have these monkeys in South India, from Narmada and Tapti rivers. We have another monkey called the bonnet macaque. This is the bonnet monkey, and we have been doing some very interesting, very simple work on these monkeys. We wanted to compare, again, another student of mine, he just wanted to compare some food extraction, taking food out of something by these urban and forest monkeys. Simple thing. You purchase the mouse trap for 36 rupees. Okay, and put some fruit in this and presented it to a group which is living in Mysore in a temple which is totally dependent on human food. Okay, and then studied another group, which is what I call you is a proxy for the forest monkey. It is living in an agricultural land and present this, and this is how these monkeys take out the food. Okay, now this is simple food extraction. All you have to do is use two hands. You can't use it with one hand. If you open it one hand and leave it, it will snap back. So what I call is a bypass task. You need two hands. This experiment was done totally for a different reason. We were studying actually laterality, the use of hands, and especially the evolution of use and the right hand use in humans and in primates. It's basically experiments were done for something else. So these became handy. And now look at the differences. The forest or the agricultural land monkeys, only about 30% were able to take the food out. Many of them simply ignored, some of them tried, some of them attempted to not take the food out, only about 30%. Whereas the urban monkeys, more than 60% were able to get the food out of this. Okay, the next thing, we wanted to do an experiment. Now this object was sort of novel object for both groups. They have not seen it. Next, we wanted to do was give them an object which is familiar to one group but not familiar to another group. Okay, what should we do? A Coke bottle. Okay, so what we did, notice this here. The seal is not broken. The seal of the Coke bottle is intact. The students, all took the Coke out. I paid the money. They drank the Coke. Put some sweet lassi in it. Okay, just to see now how do the monkeys extract the food out of this. Look, they look very simple to you. This is the beauty of the whole thing here. How from a very simple thing, from very simple objects, using very, very simple, cheap material available to you just next door, and how you can do these class experiments. How do the monkeys take the food out of it? Some tried here, some kicked it, some used that as a football, and some bit it here, some punctured a hole. But the most efficient way would be, if we have to do what do we do? You break the seal, right? Then you open it and then you drink, right? Look, the monkey is using a canal, breaking the seal. Okay. Okay. Now, this monkey so efficiently uses this technique which is the most efficient technique. And who did this and what did this? The urban monkeys. Everybody tried. Okay, you don't see this white here and explore. You again don't see that gray one, dark gray. Everybody attempted, all of them lifting it and trying here and there and making up, puncturing a hole and drinking something. But this technique of opening it completely, about 60% of the monkeys, urban monkeys, did it, and the rural monkeys, not even one. Many of them simply ignored it. Some tried it, some attempted it, and not even one was able to extract the food out of this. So you see the kind of what I have been talking about, the emergence and evolution of new skills. And the skills are why? Because these animals are exposed to these kinds of foods all the time, which has led to the emergence of these skills. So what we did now, experiment, where we had a gradient of food extraction. So we selected several groups. One is totally urban group, a temple group, which is totally dependent on people. Another is a semi-urban group, forget about medium exposure, high exposure, let's call it simple. An urban group, a semi-urban group, and a rural group. So selected these three groups with maximum exposure to people, medium exposure to people, little exposure to people, and used for material once again what? Okay, peanuts. So purchased a few peanuts, used these for the monkeys with an X 2/3 factorial design. What it means, okay. We had three different forms, three different states. We had it baked, raw, skinned, raw, boiled, and roasted. Different forms of peanuts. Now, what I want to show is a basic form, the roasted peanut, which was here, which was where the shell is taken out, but the skin, The skin is not removed. You have all eaten moongfali, right? You have all eaten peanuts. You can take the peanut, remove the shell, and roast it. Many a times it is done. So many a times these foods are given to the monkeys by people. We didn't do it even. We just see sometimes the people doing it. Now, if it has a skin, the blackish, if it is roasted, it has a blackish skin, and it's very bitter. When it's roasted, it's very bitter. So you have to remove it. How would you remove it? The monkeys use different techniques. Now, one technique is the monkey keeps it in the mouth and keeps rolling it. Okay. The monkey takes the seed out in the mouth, keeps rolling the seed, removes the skin, and spits it out. Now, it is simple in terms of time. You can understand it takes a lot of time. Then the second is what we call only use of hand. Now, hand and mouth, the monkey simply picks up the seed, starts opening it with the mouth, keeps the seed in hand, and then just uses the teeth. Okay, removes the skin. The first one, take it in the mouth, keep on rolling it, the skin comes out and spit it. The second one, take the seed, keep on breaking like this in hand. If I give it to you, what will you do? Huh? Huh? What will you do? Like this. Very good. This monkey is eligible to become professor at Jindal University. You said something, the monkey did the same thing. Okay, this very efficient technique would be just do it like this. The skin is gone, and that's what the monkey did. No, this monkey, another monkey thought this very stupid monkey. You have to make use of two hands. If you can use it only just one hand and do it, just do it like this on the ground. The skin is gone. Okay. Oh, most interesting thing is who did what. First, in terms of time. In terms of time, it's like mouth only, hand and mouth, or what we call as palm up or gripping on the ground. This is the most efficient technique because it takes less time. Very quickly, these monkeys remove the skin and make the food edible. This is what we call food processing. So very quickly, they can remove the skin and it is edible. So time taken is significantly lesser as compared to the use of mouth alone or the use of hand and mouth. And to use this technique, all this indigo purple color you see are the herbal monkeys, except two of herbal monkeys which use hand and mouth. These are the animals. You do not use at all anything, just pick it up. Why bother? Just ate it as it is. Okay. Then using hand and mouth and using these novel techniques, what we call palm rub and rub ground, and it is only the urban monkeys, except two, which did not use this behavior, but all of the monkeys except two use these efficient techniques, and none of the other monkeys, which are rural monkeys or semi-urban monkeys, not even one monkey has shown this behavior. It's only the urban monkeys. Now look here, they are not given any kind of training. These are very, very sophisticated skills which monkeys have developed. So what you see here now is that in many primate species, there are differences in behavior, which are intragroup, intergroup, and interhabitat differences. And sometimes these monkeys are exposed to very different kinds of food items, which require extraction and processing. And these are the evolution of new skills. What are these skills? Have they acquired genetic basis for this? Are they what we call, this is not for you, only for my colleagues, these terms, you will learn these terms soon, whether this is phenotypic plasticity, acquired genetic basis, even in the short term, whether there has been some kind of evolutionary change, which has led to the replacement of certain alleles. I don't know at this moment. We have not done that kind of work, but this is the kind of work which remains to be done. So this was the first kind of work which I said about animal behavior, and the second is now go Again, talking about forest dwelling and commensal means urban animals, about the conservation part. Now, I will talk about three species here, two in detail. This is called lion-tailed monkey, the one monkey, and another small monkey called a slender loris. The first about the lion-tailed monkey. This is a very unique species. I don't know how many of you would have seen this monkey. Probably none. This monkey you may see only in some 3 zoos in Mysore, in Chennai, which is Vellore Zoo and Trivandrum Zoo. Now, these monkeys are not there in any zoo, and they are not found anywhere in the world except in the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. These are what we call endemic to the Western Ghats. And even in the Western Ghats, they are not in all forests. Forests of Mysore, for example, Bandipur, Nagarhode, those famous tiger reserves, this monkey is not there. It lives only in the rainforest. In the Western Ghats, if you see the eastern slopes are dry forests, the ridge and the western slopes are the wet forest. So look at this. These green patches. This is where this monkey is found. This is a very, very rare species endemic to the Ghats. And we work in a forest called the Anamalai Tiger Reserve. Detailed work. We work in all kinds of forests there in southern India. But most of our work on the lion-tailed monkeys, for example, has been in this tiger reserve called the Anamalai Tiger Reserve. So here we have very different kind of habitat types. So once we start climbing these hills, these are eastern slopes, which are rain shadow. You see our rains, the present, for example, our monsoon, which is our primary rain. This is from the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. And these winds come, and then we have the Western Ghats in southern India. And the Western Ghats, when these clouds hit, it rains on the western side. Most of the rain is on the ridge and the western side. The eastern side of the hills, this is, you have the hill standing like this. The winds come like this and rains all the way here. And these slopes are, these are typical those dry scrub jungles at an altitude about 400 meters. If you go slightly up, then these are large tracts of what are known as deciduous forests, which you people would learn. Forest mean called the deciduous forest, which shed leaves in summer. Then you go up, you get large stretches of what is known as evergreen or rainforest. And if you go to the top of the hills, most of the Western Ghats are clothed by grass hills. And in between, we have these hollows called sholas. These are the places of the topsoil they have deposited thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago, and the vegetation comes up there. It's a sort of stunted vegetation because the altitude is about 1800 meters or so, or even more. So these are all shola forests. So this is on the top of these hills. So these hills provide very different kind of habitat types. We have been studying all kinds of animals here. Carnivore distribution, elephant distribution, and the full-fledged elephant PhD work by a student of mine. But look at the monkeys here. Species of diurnal monkeys, one nocturnal. Some of the 2 of them live here, and 2 of them live here. So I don't want to talk about this because of the lack of time. So the important thing here is in these hills is that we have this rainforest. See, once upon a time, in like this, it was complete rainforest. About 200 years ago, some of these parts of the region was opened by the British people for tea plantations. So you have lots of tea plantations. But in between, you have some of these forests, what we call rainforest fragments, which are left here. And still some few large patches of forests are there. These lion-tailed monkeys, as I told you, live only in these rainforest patches. So the basic conservation problem for the lion-tailed monkeys is that they are found mostly in forest fragments, and lion-tailed monkeys are primarily arboreal. They don't leave the forest like other monkeys. So if you have a monkey, for example, this forest fragment here and this forest fragment here, about even 1 kilometer away, there's no connection between them. 100 years, no connection. These monkeys don't make use of tea. These are tea gardens in between. So these monkey groups are totally isolated. You would understand, study biology in detail later on. What happens if you have a monkey group, for example, of 15, 20, 30 monkeys living in some place for 50 years, 60 years, 100 years? What kind of inbreeding, what kind of other stochastic events would happen in, which would affect their biology. So all this fragmentation problem, okay. So there are fragments. There's one fragment which has 5 groups, one fragment 4 groups. So most of these are highly fragmented. So the basic problem for our forest departments or wildlife managers has been to study these monkeys in forest fragments. What is their biology? What is their ecology? And how to do conservation of these animals in forest fragments. They won't move because the forests are not linked. So my group and a lot of other groups started research on those monkeys long time ago, and all kinds of research has been done there in these groups now. Demography, genetic research, ecological management, all kinds of research has been done. These hills started by somebody in 1980s. Then my group went there in mid-90s, and some other groups, Dr. Ajit Kumar and so on. And now what has been seen there is, I just give you some small things about demography. For example, in fragments, which are very large, there is a very sort of a stabilized sex ratio. You have 1 adult male, 7 adult females, few infants in the groups. But here, you see highly variable because they're in the fragments. The monkeys have no place to go. All animals have to live there. So it's a highly disturbed sex ratio. Sometimes you may have one group, lighted monkeys are known for only one male group, 1 male, several females. But now we see groups with 3 males, 4 males, 5 males, which is not normal for these monkeys. No, I don't want to talk about the consequences of this because this is not their biology. This is not their ecology. So it's a highly disturbed sex ratio. Likewise, their group size. In highly large forest, a monkey group is about 17 or 18 monkeys. The lion-tailed monkey groups are only about that much, 16 to 20 monkeys. In these small fragments, there is one fragment now which is less than 1 square kilometer, and there are more than 200 monkeys. And lion-tailed monkeys are not used to that kind of thing. All amount of space, because it's one group requires several square kilometers of range to even a group of 16, 17 monkeys because of their typical food habits. So these monkeys are not used to this kind of densities, but one totally isolated with more than 200 monkeys. So this would have all kinds of see, this is a normal density. In big forests, it's only about 2 animals per square kilometer, 3 animals per square kilometer. Now there are places where you can have more than 200 animals per square kilometer. So their density is demography is highly affected. We have conducted genetic studies. Rao was a PhD student of one Dr. Umapati from Center for Cellular Molecular Biology, Hyderabad. But we are all co-authors in this paper. We collected genetically this fecal samples from all over Western Ghats. So Rao went to all the places, collected the fecal samples, extracted the DNA, and then studied the genetic status of these animals. And one animal just showed that the animals which live in fragments, they have a highly depleted mitochondrial capacity. What it all means probably still you would study in the coming years. And also, he has shown that there are 2 different subpopulations. One is in Western Ghats, there is a gap called the Palghat Gap. So there's one population, genetical population, which is north of Palghat Gap, another which is on the south of Palghat Gap, and they need to be managed differently. And likewise, the monkeys which live close to people, they have higher number of species of parasites, and they also have higher load of parasites. So these monkeys are affected by people, even in terms of their parasite status. So what is to be done? See, this I'm taking as an example how to conserve a species which is endangered. This is considered some years back. It was considered one of the 25 most endangered primates in the world, the lion-tailed macaque. So this is, for me, it's not only the lion-tailed macaque. It's an animal which represents the rainforest. Many other species are, Nilgiri tar is facing the same problem. Many of them are living now in forest fragments. So for us, this is called what we call as a flagship species. So if we can manage this, if we can find management techniques for the lion-tailed macaque, the same techniques can be used for many other animals. So first step is to find the suitable places. Identification of suitable places. Now there is one place in Karnataka. There are 2 rivers. One is called Sharavati River down there, and another called Agnashini River, northern side. Between this, there is a forest, 4 different forests, 2 different divisions. And we started this work about 20 years ago. For something else, we went there. But we found enormous amount of monkey populations, not one, several species. We had 32 groups of lion-tailed monkeys. Nowhere in the Western Ghats we have 32 groups living in one forest. Nowhere, not even Silent Valley, which is so famous. There are only 16 groups of monkeys. So we had 32 groups of lion-tailed monkeys. We had more than 100 groups of langurs. We had about 40 or plus groups of bonnet macaques. Such enormous amount of population of primates living there. Why? What was the reason? Again, I don't want to go to that detail. So we found that this is a beautiful place for a long-term conservation, taking one lion-tailed macaque as a flagship species. But along with it, you would conserve the place for all other primates also. So we published this in way back in 2001. We started lobbying with Karnataka Forest Department that this area, which is large, this area should be declared as a lion-tailed monkey sanctuary. First, everybody was laughing, what an idea. But then this student of mine, now he's the principal scientist, and he did the PhD work there. He became so persistent, he would go to Bangalore, take these people, chief wildlife warden, chief conservator of forest, repeatedly go. This is about 400 kilometers from Mysore. So for us, we have to make repeated visits. So going to those places, taking these high officials, showing them how important this place is. And the government machinery moves very slowly, and sometimes they got very impressed about it. And sometime 2011, they had to notify, it's a process. They have to notify that the government intends to declare this area as a wildlife sanctuary. An intention, because people can raise objection. If people are grazing cattle, for example, it has to stop. If people are collecting firewood, it has to stop. Because a wildlife sanctuary has a particular status. It has a legal status where certain activities cannot be allowed. So they cannot do it alone. One note and you do it. It's a social process. Conservation is not just management, it's a social process. So people have to be taken into confidence. In 2011, they processed this when the government intends to make a lion-tailed macaque sanctuary. And they wrote that area only 300 square kilometers, 299 square kilometers. We kept lobbying with the forest department. The process went on and on and on. And to our great delight, in 2019, 930 square kilometers of the area was declared as lion-tailed macaque sanctuary. So this was just a fantastic achievement. So this is now declared as Sharavati lion-tailed macaque sanctuary, 930 square kilometers. Now, along with that, you see how many other primate species, how many other animals are going to be saved there. So this was the first example of the lion-tailed macaques. And the second example I want to give you is, the second process of conservation. The first process is identification of these important areas where we can conserve them without any interference. So they're getting this area declared as a sanctuary. Second is now linking canopies and fragments. Because, see, some places there is a highway going through a fragment. First of all, there is a fragment which is not connected with another fragment. And in that fragment, there is a highway. There is power lines. The big, huge power lines, highways. And what has happened as a consequence, the canopy is gone. And these monkeys are canopy living animals. They are basically arboreal animals. And if they come to the ground, sometimes they have been hit by buses, trucks going on those highways, and they die. And for us, even 2-3 monkeys die. It is a crisis because there are so few in numbers. So next thing is how to link these canopies. A simple idea. We have this organization, Mysore God Nature Conservation Foundation. It's an NGO. So along with the forest department, got this idea. Suppose we put some simple, taken this bamboo, made a sort of a staircase of a ladder kind of a thing, and connected these, two sides. Down there is a highway. Just connected these, whether the monkeys would use, because these are arboreal or they were dying. I don't want to show you those gory pictures of monkeys run over by the truck, by the buses, right down the roads. And so initially the monkeys were very suspect. They would touch it, they would just go away. And finally some adult male took the courage and moved over it and walked over it. And slowly the others started using it. And you see now this one, the bus running there, and the monkeys are actually moving up there. The same monkeys which would get run over by the buses now. So the vehicles are going now and the canopies are now connected. So this, as an experiment, we people have done in several places, but now given the idea to the forest department. And understand that we people have very limited resources. We people have very limited time to do these things. This is the job of the forest department now. And they have been involved from the beginning, Tamil Nadu Forest Department. Identify the critical places that we do. We tell them which are the critical places these animals. It's like our highways. You choose a particular highway from Sonipat to go to Delhi. You don't go in this direction or that direction. So we know which are the critical places which require kind of canopy linking. But linking of canopy, etc., now is the job of the forest department, and they are doing it very efficiently. So in many places, they have linked these canopies, and these animals do not come again on the ground at all. And these animals are running through these canopies. Next thing is to link fragments. So these are the forest fragments which are away from each other. So one of master's degree students, Anita, she went around in these hills in the Anomalai Tiger Reserve, walked all the places 6 months, and she would go just from one fragment, not simply walking. She would find out where are some small valleys, or there are some small streams which are linking these fragments, and some natural vegetation you see around the streams. And that's why you see like this one, like this. This is on a large scale. So she went around and found out the places which can be used to link the forest fragments. These are small valleys and small streams or sometimes rivers that you can actually link these forest fragments and calculate the land required. It's only 195 hectares. These are private lands. And if Tamil Nadu government has to buy 195 hectares of land, is no big deal for a state government just to buy these 195 hectares. So it has been shown that these are the places, if you link them, these forest fragments can be linked. And once they are linked, not only the lighted monkeys, this place is full of elephants. This is full of gaur, what is known as Indian bison. Sambar is barking deer. There are all kinds of wild animals, tigers, leopards. Leopards almost every day seen there. So it's not these monkeys would go and use these corridors. These all other wildlife would also start using these corridors. Okay, now places are shown, but now what is to be done there? You have to grow trees. Okay, which trees? Again, our job. The trees which should be native to the Western Ghats. You can't take eucalyptus there. You can't take acacia planiforms there. Okay, they have to be native to the Western Ghats. They should have fast growth. They provide good shape for coffee plantation because there are private coffee plantations. And the fruit should be useful for animals. And which are those trees? Again, we provide the list. So Dr. Shankaraman, who is our in the NCF, the Nature Conservation Foundation. So here this whole list. These are the trees of the Western Ghats, the native trees. These trees fulfill those conditions. So these are the trees which can be used for linking these forest fragments. But now next question, can these trees be grown? Okay, you give us a list. Okay, these are the places where we should grow trees. These are the trees which you should grow. But can these trees be grown? Because people are sometimes very skeptical that a rainforest is very difficult to regrow. That once the rainforest is gone, it's gone forever. This is one of the most beautiful experiments in the world, I would tell. The field experiment started by Nature Conservation Foundation. There is a Tata Finlay. They gave a plot which is a degraded plot. Okay. So the plantation work was started by HCF in 2001. In all this is the degraded land. The seeds were just collected from the forest for all these species, and a nursery was made, and the plants were brought. It started growing in this place, which is a picture of. Can you read somewhere 2006, 2001? Somewhere anyway. This was the place in 2001, and this is how it became in 2006. This is how it is in 2017, 18. Already completely regrown natural forest. And if you see it now, this is what we call the benchmark, hundreds of year-old Anomalai Tiger Reserve Forest. And this is the restoration site. Very little difference. Give us few more years, you won't be able to tell the difference between two. So now, this experiment also has been, it has taken 25 years to do this experiment. So you go back now, the forest fragments need to be linked. The fragments are identified by scientists. Where should they be linked? The areas are identified. These are the viable areas. what is to be grown. The trees are identified. These are the trees which should be used. Can you use the trees? This experiment has shown, yes, you can. So all this is done now. This is the job of a scientist. Now handed over everything again to the forest department. You and me, we cannot go and do this. Land has to be purchased. Massive scale forestation work has to be done. So this is the job now for the forest department. Shown first of all, canopy linking is working. Now forest fragment linking, that yes, it's a very good idea, workable idea, but it has to be done by the department taken up further. Now the second is about the bonnet macaque. This has been a problem because like rhesus macaque, what we have here, the rhesus macaques are there in Shivaliks. That's where I start my work in Raja's sanctuary. They live in the forest, but most of the groups are close to people. So like rhesus macaque in North India, we have the bonnet macaque in South India, which is living close to people. So these were, now what I want to show is that totally forest living species require one kind of management. The species which live close to people require another kind of wildlife management. The same, you can't have a textbook technique to do wildlife management, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You require very different kind of management technique. So this is a monkey which is endemic to South India. It's found only in some southern states. I will talk quickly about 4 different questions about this monkey. The first is, as I told you, that this is Tapti. And Narmada Godavari rivers here, Narmada goes away. The north of these rivers, very different forest types. The whole ecosystem is, my colleagues would understand this, it's Shoria robusta dominated. And down here is Tectona grandis dominated forests, which are teak dominant forests, South India, and Sar dominant forests of North India. And likewise, the monkeys. Around these rivers, above is the rhesus monkey, and down is the bonnet monkey. What has happened about 2-3 decades ago in central part of this India and Madhya Pradesh and in Telangana, we started seeing some rhesus monkey groups going into these areas where the bonnet monkeys are. These areas where there were no rhesus monkeys before. Now, bonnet monkey is a very shy monkey. We people in South India are very, very shy, very disciplined people. And these monkeys from the north, this rhesus monkeys, they are big in size. Okay, they're highly aggressive monkeys. So they have started pushing monkeys down. One may say that this is one species, entering into the range of another species. It happens all the time in nature. But no, it is a matter of concern for us because bonnet monkey is endemic only to South India. And this rhesus monkey I'm talking about, do you know where it lives? Afghanistan, through Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and China. This is the most widespread monkey. It's the most adaptive species. What the monkey which you find around, it has no problem of conservation. You really immediately don't have to bother about your resources that you have to conserve this monkey. I mean, it requires some other kind of management. So now, for example, we already know our own record shows 28,000 square kilometers of area where the bonnet monkeys were living before is already taken over by the rhesus monkeys. What to do about it, etc. I'm not talking about that management, what has to be done, just to show you that the bonnet monkey has a problem. It is not simply, it was called least concern. Oh, it's just common monkey. It is there everywhere in South India. See, the first thing, it is losing the habitat. Now, once we published a couple of years ago, it became so sensational. Some of these newspapers like Mongabi and what is that other called, some, these sensational writers, they pick up these stories and, somebody, I think it is in some print or something, somebody picked up in scrolling, picked up this story. Look at the title here given. South India, look political. South India is losing its endemic bonnet monkey to an aggressive invader from the north. I started shivering. If this question gets raised in Parliament, I will be in trouble. The way somebody would make a north-south issue, as usually made up all the time in Indian Parliament. So look at the title which is given by these people, how sensational title they give. So anyway, this monkey is losing a lot of its traditional home range. And the second thing was for us to see, is it really a forest-dwelling monkey? We did extensive survey. You can imagine walking 4,788 kilometers and doing these surveys in all forest types. in Kerala, in Karnataka, in Tamil Nadu. The rainforest, the deciduous forest, and so on. Now, this just to show you, forget about these densities. It's just to show you that densities are so low that we could not even apply our models, because some of our models make sense. Some of our models require certain amount of detection, certain amount of detection probability. These population densities are so low that we could not apply the models. So just to show you that you might find a few groups of these monkeys in the forest, but this is not really a forest living species. So where have they been living? Most of them have been living in temples and tourist places. Okay. So we started visiting in all these South Indian states, temples and tourist places. Visited, reported 124 such temples and tourist places, going and talking to people, finding out whether when the monkeys were there, what has happened to the monkeys. Were the monkeys trapped and released somewhere else? Did some monkeys come back again? See, many people think, oh, the monkey group was, because sometimes the dog comes, you leave a dog off the street somewhere, after 15, 20 days, 30 days, the dog comes back. They have a fantastic sense of smell. The monkeys don't have, people think that a monkey group was trapped from a temple, left some 70 kilometers away. Okay, and they see after 25 days, 30 days, a monkey group there. They say, imagine the monkeys were left 70 kilometers away, they came back. They don't know the monkeys the way we know. We always name them, we number them. They are not the same monkeys. A temple is a very prime area. There is a marginal area close by. So this monkey group is taken left somewhere else. Some other monkey group moves in. For people, monkeys are monkeys. So, but in most of the places, there were no monkeys were seen again. So most of the places, these monkeys are not tolerated anymore. You don't find them in many temples. You don't find them in many tourist places. So where else were these monkeys? Roadsides. Here also you can find many of the old roads. You can find the groups of rhesus monkeys. So what I did actually way back in 1978, but from 1989, we started very, very systematic surveys on 1,052 kilometers. So over the generations of students have been recording this. Earlier they were put on the maps where these monkey groups were, how many males, females, infants, and so on. So now we have more than 30 years records on a single population. Again, one of the best kept records ever on population dynamics. So recorded all these monkey groups here. This is how these roads work. I used to drive motorbike from Bangalore to Mysore to Bangalore. It was shade throughout. This is Ficus bengalensis. This is the pig. And this is how most of these roads were. Even in North India, for example, when I was in Merit University, I used to drive motorbike from here to the Shivaliks, through that side, sometimes go this side, come to Modi Nagar, sometimes go to, the other places towards the Dehradun. Most of these roads were like this, not of ficus trees, but in South India, ficus was grown almost everywhere. So there were a group of monkeys. Everywhere there were several hundred monkeys on Mysore-Bangalore road. Monkeys, squirrels, birds. It was just fun to be there on the major highways, I'm telling you. And then not about 30 years ago, just about 3 decades ago, I'm not talking of hundreds of years ago. Suddenly in the past 30 years, drastic changes have taken place in India. 30 years ago, from my field station, I had to drive down 28 kilometers to call my wife to Mysore because there was no phone available anywhere from the forest. 28 kilometers for a landline. There was the dabba. You make the phone call from there. And today, wherever you go, you have your mobile sitting in the hills everywhere. So these changes. So this is how these roads were about 3 decades ago, about 2 decades ago, about a decade ago, and today. Okay, this is how these habitats have gone. These habitats all over. It's not just one Mysore-Bangalore road I'm talking about. This is the new E-Expressway by Mysore-Bangalore. All these, ficus trees are gone. All these habitats are gone. And what has happened? The monkeys moved to the villages. They started raiding crops. No resource left. And I will just show you one picture because I have so many of them. Monkeys beaten, monkeys shot, killed, blood oozing out of gunny bags. But then we are also Hanuman Bhakt. So people must go and poison them, kill them, and then before the forest department says we'll burn them, no, we have to put kumkuma, haldi, we have to do puja, and then first they kill them, all these monkeys, and then they come and do all the puja. So hundreds and hundreds of monkeys are dead. And we have the record of more than 1,000 monkeys like this, which are killed by the farmers, dead lying on the roadside. And all the records are kept by us and with the forest department. So what has happened is, see, this also gives you an idea that any wildlife, unless it's systematically recorded, you cannot say the population is increasing or decreasing. These are all guesswork. Everybody says, oh, tiger numbers are increasing very much. Okay, now we have some census work, which is at least some scientific way of doing it. Oh, elephants, we used to see few, but there are so many elephants now. They have increased like anything. And even these monkeys, you drive there once in a while, you find one monkey group. There may be 15 monkeys. And somebody says, oh, wahan main to 1,000 bandar dekha. You know, 15 monkeys become hundreds, 100 monkeys will become thousands. You know, the systematic record, still you go on those roads, still some monkeys are there somewhere. Okay, but these systematic records now, for example, this is 1989, for example. So intensive cut, I divided this into intensive cultivation zone, dry cultivation zone, where you get only one crop in a year. See, intensive cultivation, you get crops throughout the year. Dry cultivation, like now monsoon, you get that one crop, rest of the year, it is dry. Okay. So in intensive cultivation, from 1999, so many groups, so many monkeys, by 2014, all monkey groups are gone. 1% population is gone extinct. Unless it was recorded, nobody would have really known what is happening. And now, in the dry cultivation, 82% population is gone. So only about 18% is surviving this. And this is we are talking about, which by IUCN has been classified as a least concerned species. You know, least concerned species are those, doesn't matter, there are plenty of them. Now, because they are so systematically recorded, so 82% of those monkeys are also gone. But certain scrub forests, we have seen fantastic stability. You very rarely see such population stability. Group 777, monkeys 210, 266, 251. This kind of stability in the population is very, very rare to see. So what we have shown now is that certain kinds of scrub jungles, this is where these monkeys show stability. So now what we are proposing to the forest department, we are identifying all such places. Forget about those habitats where they used to live. There's nothing you can do. They're already gone. It is too expensive, too much manpower, too much money trying to conserve them. They have already gone. And the reason that they have gone is not correctable. The highways are going to be more and more. The roads which are still left a few, they also will become 2-lane, 4-lane highways very soon. So this process is irreversible. What we have to do is find out such places where we can conserve these monkeys and declare such areas as Bon and Macaque reserves. And we are in the process of doing it. Still, no such area has been declared, but I think very soon, at least one place would be declared as a Bon and Macaque sanctuary. But identification is going on. All such places being mapped and given to the forest department. So this is about the Bon and Macaque. And last 2 slides I want to show you is about another animal called slender loris. I don't know how many people have seen loris. How many have heard about loris? You see, loris is a monkey. It's not found in North India. It's found in South India and it's found in Northeast India. It is so small it can sit on your hand, in your palm, this much. And it is nocturnal. It's not active during the day because it goes blind. I mean, it's active only in the night. And unlike other monkeys which live in groups where you can detect them, this animal is largely solitary. So imagine for animal behavior people, a monkey which is this much size and small is active only in the night. Okay, you have worked the whole night in the forest and does not live in groups. Is always one small animal living single. How easy or how difficult it would be to study ecology and behavior of this species. Our zoology people would know once you go and study. And very interesting thing is that 3 of my students who have done the PhDs on slender loris, all 3 are girls. The boys didn't bother to go into the forest because you have to enter the forest at 6 o'clock, get out at 7 o'clock. And all 3 students who have done PhDs, Sindhu Radhakrishna, Anna Nekaris from USA, and Smita Daniels now from Tamil Nadu, from Mysore only. All 3 are girls who have done this PhD work. So For about 20 years ago, nothing was known about this animal. Where is this animal found? I was going once to my tiger reserve area in Annamalai in Tamil Nadu, and somebody told us that there is in the next village, and this is about 300 kilometers from Mysore, that there is a person who has a slender loris. Now this was interesting. My student was with me. We just drove the jeep and went to that village. And my jeep was given by the Ministry, Central Government of India, Ministry of Forest and Environment. And I was wearing khaki clothes. My student was wearing khaki clothes. My driver was wearing khaki clothes. And this slender loris is a scheduled animal. And we went to that village, the whole family ran away. They thought somebody is come to arrest them, that these are either forest people or police people. So slowly we talked to that man and asked them, from where did you get it? He was very hesitant to tell. He won't tell. So ultimately we explained, I didn't know Tamil then. So slowly explaining that, look, we are conservation people, we study animals. Please tell us, from where we have got it. He says, why do you want to know? I said, we want to see them. He says, you can see it. It's sitting here, no? Then what to tell him? I said, no, we want to see it in the trees. He said, okay, I'll put this in the trees, you can see it there. So anyway, he understood slowly. Then he gave us the name of the village. We went there. Next evening, we were there. Rest is the story that we immediately, first night, it was 14 animals which we saw, which was first time somebody had seen 14 slender lorises in one night. So I told the forest department there, the DFO, here is the gold mine. The place called Dindigal. It's a small town and the areas around that. So immediately we got the permission from the forest department and we started doing extensive surveys in this area. So this is where we went to all forest umbrella, forest, cropland, close cropland away in this difficult division. And published this article in England in the journal called Oryx about the slender loris, the first article published there about the distribution of the slender loris. Then we picked up more and more areas in Andhra Pradesh, in Karnataka, and so on, studying this distribution. But after 1999, we started again pleading with and lobbying with the forest department that, look, this is a very important area. Nobody knew about loris. And some people say slender loris needs sanctuary because people didn't even know. The local people also didn't even know that there is this kind of animal living. So we started again our lobby process with the forest department. As usual, took it long time. And this is the kind of the forest in which they live. Okay, this is slender loris. This is the monkey, which is, a small monkey in the nights. So this our pleading continued again from the first article in 1999. Again in last year, 2021, we people were asked to give the detailed report about which are the probable areas, which areas should be conserved, what should be done, which are, all this time Kumara, my former student, who was involved in the survey. At that time, he's a principal scientist now in Salabali Center. So he went with his students all over. The same area which we have studied. He went there, prioritized all the areas, gave the maps to the forest department, and to our great delight and congratulations to the forest department, last year, slender loris sanctuary has been declared. So this is once again a great achievement done by notification of that. This is a copy taken from the forest department report. Okay, all in Tamil Nadu here, typical language, whereas the government of Tamil Nadu considers that the area specified in the schedule is of adequate ecological importance and significant for conservation, protection, and propagation of nearly private species, namely slender loris. So all this area where we started work that time now has been legally declared 113 square kilometers of area by the Tamil Nadu Forest Department has been declared now as slender loris sanctuary. I think that's all I have to. So now just to sum up, there are some species which are typically forest dwelling. Okay, so these species, they are, now note down this point for environmental science students, very important that the species which are typically forest dwelling, they are adapted to very limited habitat types. Lion-tailed macaques live only in the rainforest, but these habitats are highly stable. Nothing will happen if you don't interfere. Nothing will happen to a rainforest. It will be there for next 5,000 years. Nothing will happen. It will undergo its own evolutionary natural process. And they are very highly stable. These forest ecosystems, unless interfered with, they are highly stable ecosystems. So typical forest dwellings, they are adapted to limited habitat types, but the habitat types are highly stable. And typically commensal species. They are adapted to wide variety of habitat types. Look at the rhesus monkeys in the jungles, in the temples, in your kitchen, in your garden, on the roadside, wherever you name it, in the city, in the village. They are there everywhere. So these commensal species are adapted to a wide variety of habitats, but all these habitats are highly unstable. See, unlike the forest monkey, forest species, limited habitat types but highly stable. Large variety of habitat types but highly unstable. Anything can happen anytime. These you stop monkeys coming from close to people. In temples, you start giving them food. What will happen? What will happen? They die. They are not used to finding food on their own. So these habitats can simply disappear. So the forest dwelling species require one kind of management strategy. The commensal species require a totally different kind of management strategy. We have done this with the macaques and noticed same thing. Forest dwelling species, Nilgiri langurs, tigers, wild dogs, commensals, and Humber langurs, foxes, wolves. No, they are not forest dwelling. They are largely living with people in croplands and so on. Foxes, wolves, unlike tigers and the wild dogs. So the framework what we have developed with species-specific appropriate modifications and specifications. These models can be modified and adapted to the management of typically forest-dwelling species and typically commensal species. So this is all, and this is, a few pictures just to quickly in the next 30 seconds. This is a lot of people from other countries have worked in my field station. People have come there for 3 months training, 6 months training, full-fledged PhD work, 3 years, 6 years, 7 years. Matt Cooper did PhD on monkeys in India, and he did postdoc work also with me. And he's from American, he's now a professor there. So these lots of students have been there. I just want to show this because this was one of my field stations from 94 established, and we had it till about 2006. Then we shifted our camps to some other places. Few days back, I was in that particular area of Anomaly Tiger Reserve. I want to go and see this shed of mine, which we were using, which was once upon a time, how many German, American, Australian scientists have come and slept here. Senior scientists, they would come and collaborate with us and live in this house. So I just went, I got some big international awards recently. So my students, they came from far off places. They all gathered in Anomaly Tiger Reserve a couple of weeks, that's just 2 weeks ago. And just to celebrate this. So we went to visit this place. We were the boys who did PhD. Kumara is known as Lander Loris Bhatt. He's principal scientist in Coimbatore. These were students all the time at Cooper. So we went to this house and very neat job done by the elephants. This is the shape of my field station today. You see there. This is a picture taken a few days ago. So this is 25 years later. This was a picture taken in August 1998, and this is in August 2023, just couple of days back. And this is the fate of that field station of mine. So this is just some collaborators there, and this is one of the comments from a German journal. This is my wife, and the other colleagues, which have been working with us for a very long time. Just in the hills, Cornelia spent 6 years. She is from Austria. So just to quickly sum up all these my students, you can see the white beard of some of them and my black hair, as I said. Some of them have actually retired. And these were some of them first PhD students. My wife continues to work still. And all these people have been working for a long time and continue to work. And several of them and many more to come. And not only the monkeys. We work on rhesus monkeys, larger monkeys, elephants, long-tailed macaques, large mammals, barn macaques, rodents, bats, loris, dogs, lizards, squirrels, hares, wolves. These are the species which we people have been working on. And these are all kinds of number of people. Many of them already are PhDs. Only about 3 of them are there who are now doing PhDs. I thank them all and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Singh, for this wonderfully engaging and enriching talk. If the students can now ask any questions that they have for Professor Singh.
Yeah. She has started wearing it a couple of days ago, and every sound is totally for me. I'm little hard of wearing it this very day. So just catch the question what she's asking.
Yeah, but you have to be audible to him as well. There is a mic. There is a mic.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Professor. Thank you for your lecture. I found it extremely interesting. Wealth of knowledge for me, especially because I was learning actually the first cultures, because I have never experienced such a lecture before. So thank you so much. I had two questions actually. The first one being, you highlighted the difference between behaviors in monkey groups which are more suburban settings compared to semi-urban and more low experience with urban people. And I wanted to ask, do you think that behavior is because they're imitating human-like behavior, or is it because
The question asked everywhere. The answer is no. If they were learning from humans to open coconut, they would have chaku in their hand by now. And thankfully, they don't do it. Okay. So this is a typical question, very, very good question. Are they learning anything from the people? Actually, they are learning very little from each other. Most of the things are done by animals, but young animals do learn from adult animals. So sometimes when it's very difficult, for example, in Nicobar Island, when these animals are adult processing, I mean, I can show you all those things, how they process coconut from the tree, how they pluck it from the tree, for example. It is a difficult process. So some of these juveniles, they actually go and sit what, and such animals are far more efficient in the future later on. So the animals do learn, but from learning from people, we have absolutely no evidence that monkeys could be learning anything from people. Although some people would, even biologists have committed these mistakes. You know, you go to Jaggu temple, for example, in Shimla. The monkeys have a habit that you are very try to stand there in Shimla temple. A monkey comes, sits here and takes the glass and sits somewhere. That's such, but you won't even know. The monkey comes and takes the glass. And monkey is sitting. Now people there, and that you give a banana, the monkey gives the glasses back. To look like, it looks like this, you give a banana, the monkey gives the glasses in our language, the monkey gives the glasses back. So I had a student, somebody else's student, she was reading this paper somewhere barter in, monkeys that, you give the banana and the monkey gives the glasses back. So I had to tell that, listen, what is the meaning of a barter? The barter is, we exchange something, you give me something, I give you something. And there's no priority. I can give you today something, you give me something. Tomorrow you can give it first to me, then I can give it. So I asked her, you have seen that a monkey gets the glasses. Have you ever seen a monkey giving the glasses and now you give the banana? No, the banana is given first because the monkey has no interest in the glass anymore, it flows. So people think that, you give the glasses, so there's a barter. So you give the banana and the monkey gives the glasses back. But a monkey has never given the glasses back first and say, now you give me the banana, I have given you the glasses. Then it would be barter. No, it is simply because they have learned this habit. They are very intelligent animals. They pick up these behaviors. But still, not all the monkeys are doing it. There's only few monkeys who do this. But monkeys do learn. See, in animals, for example, tigers, leopards, because tigers kill big prey and cubs cannot make that kind of killing. And the tigers actually, say, animal like chamber, which is the big deer, or even a cheetah. Sometimes, when they are about 4 or 5 months old, the tiger cubs, the female attacks the prey animal and sort of incapacitates. She does not make the final kill. So the animal is sort of half dead. Okay. So these kids go. They will be very playful. They do like all that kind of final kill. So they take that kind of pleasure. I have made this kill. So this is how it's actually, you don't call it tutoring like we people do. Okay. So it's not, you don't call it real tutoring in nature, but the provisions are sort of made there that young animals do learn from adult animals. But adult animals do provide some opportunity. You see, for some of these birds of prey, eagles, you can see the kites. You see the friendly kites around there, your campus that are brown and white. and see the young ones, they simply go and start diving in the air. And see the young ones along with them diving because they make things in the air itself. They aren't on other birds, but they mostly eat rodents and all. So that kind of social learning is there that learn from their own species. But picking up behavior from humans, they have absolutely no.
Habitat of lion-tailed macaws. And you also mentioned that the lion-tailed macaws living in more fragmented lands have been shown to have lesser genetic diversity, mitochondrial diversity. So if we do succeed in linking the fragments between the lion-tailed macaws habitats and the non-fragmented habitat of lion-tailed macaws, and if they do, interbreed between each other, do you think, are there any predictive studies which show how the mitochondrial diversity in one macaws will affect the other group?
No, the studies are there in captivity. Say in the zoos, for example, there have been several zoos in Europe as well as in America. And there's a lot of literature. This is what they do in the zoos. The management in zoos, it is done, for example, occasionally you take male from one zoo to replace another group for maintaining genetic diversity. To keep on exchanging animals. So it's a genetic management which is done. Similar kind of thing would happen. So, but releasing animals to create diversity is still very, very rarely it is done. What we are trying to do is that the animals must move on their own. So you link these forest fragments and allow the natural dispersion, like it is happening in large areas. In large areas, the animals move between the groups. Actually, lion-tailed monkeys, because I said they are really well groups unmade. The rest of them keep moving between the groups in large forests, and that is the situation we want to create. That from the fragments also, they should move on their own rather than be people trapping and releasing here and not knowing what the biological consequences or social consequences would be, we don't know. So sure, it would only be good because it would only increase the genetic diversity.
Thank you, Professor.
About the peanut experiment that you showed, that the peanut one. Yeah, so basically a human would act in that way because we have some motivation to do it, like either the taste or the time or something like that. And since you've done so much work in animal behavior, what do you see as the motivation of a monkey to act?
The poor fellows have no time for anything. Look at this, you go to the hostel and eat your ready food. And they have 60-70% of the time from management is spent in searching for food. They have very much time for spend. So they need far more efficient techniques than you and me need. So it's there is no ample time etc. available for all animals. The basic necessity is the food, and the food is not that easily available in nature. It's very difficult to get. So all animals have a lot of time to spend. But what happens is now, for example, the bird monkeys. Sometimes we call them feed monkeys or trash monkeys because they pick up the food anywhere. The lion-tailed monkeys, they're very unsocial animals because they have no time. They're all the time searching for food and small things they get, and they have very limited time to spend with each other. And these wild monkeys, the urban monkeys, they sit somewhere, trash food they would eat, and they have 50% time to sit and play and groom each other. Because that's rhesus monkey. They are grooming, picking the people think they're picking the lice, etc. And all. They're actually grooming the social behavior. You see the way infants and juveniles play. You don't see that in the land monkey. They have no time.
Any other question? Okay, so I have some.
One thing you must do is to start asking questions. People will keep saying it. I have been saying it for 50 years. You have been saying it for 10 years. We people would keep saying it repeatedly, ask the question. And many people have some very interesting question in their mind, and they don't ask. You know why? Maybe this question is stupid. The question is never stupid. Only the answer can be stupid. Give the stupidity to us. Ask the question.
So you have been in the field for the past 50 years. Do you think ever once the city monkeys but if they were exposed to the jungle, so do you think they would choose the jungle over the city again?
They died. Most of the monkeys died. They have done it from Mysore, from the temples, etc., and city monkeys. Without, by knowing, other day some forest officer was telling that there are 800 monkeys in my university. And they have left them somewhere. These monkeys, the monkeys kept in urban, living in urban areas. You leave them in some forest, a leopard could kill them and all of them would be dead. They don't know how to live there. They don't know how to extract those resources. They are adapted to one very different kind of habitat. Same way the forest monkey, to bring them to the city, they will be taken for this. They don't know how to face dogs. They don't know how to face people. So the animals are adapted to their habitats. It's very difficult and a very, very long process of new adaptations. Changing these monkeys, what they are doing today, they have not just learned it in the last 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years, or 100 years. They have lived here hundreds of years. And that's how they have learned, like, he showed you to show the familiarity, our familiarity, full familiarity in the Nicobar monkeys. So these are the things which take lots of time that these animals, but they are trying to show about rehabilitation. In Delhi they did it. The surfer monkeys, a place called the Sola Bhatti, just outside, I think in somewhere. So they didn't even sterilize them. What we are doing in Himachal Pradesh, at least, they are sterilizing the monkeys. Nearly 2 lakh monkeys have been sterilized in Himachal Pradesh. These monkeys were trapped from Delhi, left in that place, not sterilized at least. If they were sterilized, the population would have been controlled. And some of them have escaped to villages. Those villages never had seen the monkeys before. So the problem is removed from one place and replicated somewhere else. Animal rights issue also.
One small question. How do very closely related group of animals, say macaques and phyllodes, they have such very contrasting behaviors, one nocturnal, diurnal, social, and solitary. So how does it evolve?
Very simple. If you look at species which are genetically closely related, this is one paper of art. It's just under consideration for publication now. Any species which are closely related, they are more or less at the same trophic level. By trophic level for the student, they have similar kind of food requirements. So more genetically related you are, similar kind of food requirements you have. So what should the species do? The first thing is space away. Go away from each other. So the lions live in open habitat of heat, the tigers live in dense forest somewhere else. Okay, they simply live in different ecological settings. Sometimes, if they don't live in ecological setting, they come into the same ecological setting. Then they start different habitats. So you are inside a deciduous forest and you go like a the current monkeys and Andaman lagoon are in the deciduous forest. The lighted monkeys and deep lagoons are in the rainforest. So you are in the same ecological setting, but you are close by, but two different habitats. But if you are forced to live in the same habitat, okay, what will happen? Then the giant squirrels and flying squirrels, both are forest. The same forest where they are taking them. Okay, what we have seen is the giant squirrels are diurnal, the flying squirrels are nocturnal. So now you live in the same habitat, you have the similar food habits, but they are temporally separated. One species is diurnal, another species is nocturnal. Not that the competition is not there, but direct competition is reduced. But if they are same habitat and both are diurnal, then what? Then it will lead to resource partitioning, what we call niche selection. Each species lacks its niche. We have reported in detail. A lot of our work is actually on what we call resource partitioning in symbiotic species. So some species we have reported that they would, for example, one species of the same tree is eating only unripe fruit, but some fruit are left. Another one, the golden macaque, eat it when it's fully ripe because they don't have long canals. Lighted macaque can eat it when it's unripe. No, so they start specializing on different resources. Lagoons are basically leaf eaters. The lagoons and monkeys live together. Lagoons are colobines, their stomachs are like ours. So they are leaf eating, very little food. Monkeys are fruit eating, very little food, so they can live together. So they live together, closely related, but they are living on different resources. But what if they are living on the same resource? So we have reported this case also, where they are living on the same resource, 74% food overlap, but only for 2 months. And those 2 months, when we did the philology of production in the forest, and total production of the fruits in the forest, and that is happening when the resources are abundant. So species ecologically space out. If not, they space out habitat-wise. If not, they have temporal spacing. If not, they specialize on resources. If not, they are choosing the resources which are abundant and hence avoid.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering so patiently all the questions and such an engaging lecture. I, on behalf of Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability, take this opportunity to express my gratitude towards everyone who took out time from their busy schedule to be with us. At the outset, I would like to thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering such an engaging talk. It was a privilege and honor to have you with us today. Thank you once again.
All the best to the young students for the commencement of the courses.
I convey our deep sense of appreciation to Professor Rajkumar for all the institutional support and guidance. I would like to thank Professor Sridhar Patnaik for extending support and guidance for the smooth functioning of our school. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dean Professor Maharaj Krishna Pandit for continuously guiding us towards making JSES strive for excellence. I thank Professor Abhirup Chaudhary, Vice Dean JSES, for guiding us in all activities currently at the school. I'm grateful to all my wonderful colleagues here and faculties who have joined with us. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the students for participating in this lecture. Thank you. And I would like to request you to proceed for refreshments outside.
Recording stopped.